Good morning, everyone. My name is Jim Luyendyk, and every February I get really excited. I get excited because the SOT annual meeting is approaching. The Society of Toxicology and this meeting has been my professional home for more than 20 years. Coming to this meeting, if this is your first one, this talk is for you. If you're new to toxicology, this talk is for you. If you are a long-term member, 40 years, I hope that this talk is for you, because it's a reminder that we all come from somewhere different. But once we get to toxicology, we all belong. One of the things that's most exciting to me about coming to the annual meeting is interacting with all of the people. If this is your first meeting, you will find out that the science is outstanding. You will get to see data. You'll be excited, but you will enjoy the interactions with people the most. And among my most favorite thing to do is to interact with, in particular, students from the undergraduate program here at SOT. When I joined initially as a graduate student, there were a number of people that came to me and just were part of inspiring me to make this my place. And I love being able to give back in that way. It's quite possibly the most fun thing to do ever. And as I go to the undergrad program, I hear different things from students, about where they've come from, what they aspire to do. Oftentimes it's, hey, I applied for this award, I got it, so here I am in Baltimore or whatnot. Can you please make the snow stop? I was like, okay, we have some things are in our control, that one's not. But then I hear things from them, it's like, this was a favorite from a few years ago. I'm just not feeling this toxicology thing. He says, I don't know what that means. What do you do? Well, I'm a biochemist, or I'm a kinesiologist, I'm a nutritionist. I do computational biology. So, wait, yeah, no, okay, hold on. You're a toxicologist. We just got to chat a little bit. But then they asked me, like, what did you do? How did you get here? What was your success story? I'd like to think that I've done pretty well, right? But how did I get here? And in advance of this year, I thought, okay, what was my toxicology origin story? Right, that's really what they're asking for. They want to be put into a place where they can have a level of assurance that at the Society of Toxicology meeting and in the field broadly, that their background has them to belong here. So I put a little bit more time, just a little bit more time this year into thinking about where I came from. And I think I had kind of a well-constructed path to toxicology. This really began in the mudroom of a small house in Granville, Michigan, where a young kid was found in the corner sucking on an ant trap. One call to poison control, bam, 100% chemistry, toxicology for a career. I guess that quite honestly, like if you're watching like sci-fi late at night, that would make a really good B-movie version of Ant-Man, but that's not my origin story. When I went through and I thought about what I had done, I landed, on something that I guess I didn't expect. I really didn't. I saw a career trajectory and a plan that felt really intentional. I went to Colorado State, I got a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, I went to Michigan State, got my PhD in toxicology. After postdoctoral studies at the Scripps Research Institute, I went, and for those who were at the talk last night, I was exposed to closenite, which helped my career immensely at the University of Kansas Medical Center. And I came back to Michigan State. The whole way SOT has been there for me, and I've tried to reciprocate by being there for SOT. I've been mentored by some of the best in the business, and that has helped me tremendously. And I'm trying to pay that back. I have a fantastic team in the lab. I'm trying to pay that back, and it's true joy, and they're going to most definitely give me a hard time about this talk later. So this is what I share with people. This was my trajectory. This is what I did. But that's not what this is about. This was supposed to be about my origin story, right? When I was an undergrad, when I was a grad student, did I feel the same? This is a long time ago, right? Did I feel the same way as those students? Did I feel like I didn't belong? Yeah, I don't know. So I went back and I said, there's kind of a part of the story that I don't tell. And I don't tell this part of the story because oftentimes when you come to a professional meeting, you interact with individuals who have this trajectory like it's displayed here, and you're, That's not how I got here. Maybe it's too late, right? But I want to share the message that toxicology, perhaps even more than other fields, thrives on the diversity of our origin stories. The complex questions that we have to get at demand diverse origin stories, demand different ways of thinking. And so with that, I was, okay, maybe it's okay for me to share my origin story, right? Because if I do that, it will put everybody in the same place of being, all right, if Luyendyk can do that, I can come here and I can become a career toxicologist. So I went back and I kind of thought about where I was coming from. And I got to tell you, I was going to be an investment banker, an accountant, something with money. Okay. My grandfather sold a product called dictaphone in West Michigan. And every Sunday we would go over to his house and he would bust out something with mutual funds or stocks. I was like, this is great. This is make money. And you know, in high school, I was like, this can support what I want to do, which is become an extreme skier. Okay? So the money is going to support that thing. This is a good plan, all about money. In fact, my high school accounting teacher, Mark Geister, had me fully convinced that I was just gonna like do this thing, you like debit, credit, all the way to the slopes to Aspen. I did have a chemistry set. Mom tells the story that basically I went out to the front porch, I think with some other kid, and we just like mixed everything together, because that's what you do. There's instructions, but no, you just kind of mess around and find out, and it turned purple. There's nothing wrong with purple, but it is not gonna make the money that I need to ski. I did have a really great high school chemistry teacher. And if I can bring you all back to high school for just a minute, you know, you would go to class and you'd be sitting with your friends and you're like, no, I don't want to go to class either. I really hate this. This is no good. I don't want to be here. But in the back of your mind, yeah, I wonder what Mr. Van Fossen's going to say today. That teacher is secretly captivating. And in the back of your mind, you're like, wait, I'm inspired in this moment. And that was the case for Carl Van Fossen at Holland High School as well. And I was lucky that my parents noticed that. Right? So the whole money skiing thing, they were very supportive of both of those activities. I'm very grateful. But my dad came to me and he said, hey, you know, you seem to like this chemistry gig. You need to talk to Don Butler. It's like literally have no idea who that is. Okay? He said, I'm taking you over to Don Butler's house on Sunday. And this was not an excursion that I was excited about. I didn't know who Don Butler was. I knew that his significant other, Mary Butler, was a math tutor at the high school because of my long-term need for math tutoring. So Dad drives me over to the Butler's house and basically literally just drops me off for an hour. Walk up to the door, see ya, okay. And I walk in and I meet this Mr. Butler fellow, and to be honest, I should be careful because my dad called them on Friday to let them know that I was gonna talk about them in this presentation. This guy looked like a Detroit Lions armchair TV tray, Sunday afternoon type guy, sitting there with a beverage. Why is this about chemistry? I don't get it. For the next hour, I remember words that I've never heard before, being told to stay out of my comfort zone, be persistent in my pursuit of course chemistry, and just kind of thinking outside the box. Really wasn't having it at the time. I had no idea what this guy was talking about. Honestly, it sounded like the glory days of his job, which had something to do with just making a lot of drug. Like that was his gig. It's like they had a little bit and he was the guy who would just tell them how to make a lot of it. Fine, he worked at this place called Warner Lambert, which is on the west coast of Michigan over there in Holland. And this, for all intents and purposes for me, this was a big building surrounded by a scary fence on the way to the beach. That was it. It was later that I realized, after my dad saying things about cholesterol and things like that, that I had been sitting in the living room of one of the lead organic chemists who came up with the root synthesis for like tons of Lipitor. Pretty cool. So Mr. Butler was Dr. Butler. But I still had no idea what I was going to do. It was like a really weird experience. But Colorado State needed to happen. 100% needed to happen. The skiing thing was a priority. Right? What I was going to do there, I honestly had no idea. No, in all seriousness, no idea. Chemistry was cool, but money was needed to support the season pass, the equipment, what have you. Wasn't quite sure. I liked movies, though. Really easily influenced by movies. The lights are too bright to see hands raised, and no one would raise their hand if they've seen the movie Aspen Extreme. Seems unlikely. It's a film starring a fellow by the name of Peter Berg, has now directed a whole bunch of movies. It's about these two ski engineers at Mount Brighton, now 40 minutes from my house, who ultimately move to Aspen and pursue their dreams of being ski bums. That was my thing. I was going to make that work somehow with the business of chemistry. But 1996 was a really great year for movies. Adam Sandler taught us that anyone could become a professional golfer. What else happened? Tom Cruise prevented Galitzin from stealing the knock list. Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton solidified their love story by launching Dorothy into an F4 tornado. Good stuff. It was also the year that I met Stanley Goodspeed. Stanley Goodspeed was an FBI agent with expertise in chemical weapons, played by Nick Cage in the movie The Rock. Saw this movie, this was wicked awesome. Dr. Goodspeed was called in to try to effectively stop Ed Harris from making a poor life choice and releasing a series of VX gas warheads over the San Francisco Bay Area. This is a Jerry Bruckheimer film. You can picture this. The cameras are rotating around the sun, cars exploding, what have you. Action-packed, tremendous fun. Loved this movie. This is that movie when it comes on TV, I have to stop and watch. Progress reports, manuscripts aside, we're watching The Rock. There's this one line in the movie. This is Nick Cage's character, Stanley Goodspeed, walks into a hangar. At this point, he doesn't quite know that the scenario he's walked into is real. But the FBI director, Director Womack, tells him, Dr. Goodspeed, you come very highly recommended, BA, PhD, Johns Hopkins, biochemistry, toxicology. This is the first time I saw the word toxicology. I had never heard of that thing before, but I saw it in a movie, and I thought that was the coolest thing I've seen. I'm easily influenced by film. Remember those degrees I got? Biochemistry, toxicology? This is because of the movie. I've taken things a little bit far. I mean, what brought me to toxicology was, in fact, a film. What kept me here was the science and the people. But what brought me here was a movie. It's awesome, okay? There are really, if you have not seen this, I'm sending you all away with homework. There are amazing scenes in this movie. And courtesy my son's friend, Oliver Jodwin, I thought I would just show you one of my favorites.
I'm just a biochemist. And most of the time, I work in a glass jar and lead a very uneventful life. I drive a Volvo, beige one. But what I'm dealing with here is one of the most deadly substances the Earth has ever known. So what do you say you cut me some friggin' slack?
Loved it. Loved it. In fact, I loved it so much that my parents saw that too. And they made me both a plaque with the quote from the movie as well as a picture of Nick Cage in that scene. Those things sit above my desk at work. They're now sitting amongst a list of kind of growing Nick Cage artifacts for those who know my toxicology origin story. I've driven 4 Volvos, just like Stanley Goodspeed in the movie. The last one here is known to a famous liver toxicologist who's a member of the Society of Toxicology. For the record, it has 325,000 miles on it. Durable interest in toxicology. It's kind of weird, the whole Nick Cage thing. It's like, I have to be the only person in the Society of Toxicology who came to the field or has the same level of influence on that person by Nick Cage. It turns out that that's not correct. There's at least one more person, and I'll let you guys guess who that is. So I'm really influenced by movies. That's why I got my career. And during the pandemic, I picked up on a particular type of film, and it never occurred to me why my family was so concerned in my genuine interest in extreme mountaineering movies. This is not happening, but nonetheless. So I've told you my origin story. I came to the field because of a movie. I got excited by a line in a film. Why is that relevant for this audience? What's the point in talking about this? And I think the point here is that whatever my origin story, I can tell you that one. I'm most familiar with where I came from. But what's yours? What are you going to tell people here at the annual meeting and beyond as you try to recruit the next generation of toxicologists into the fold? I think the diversity in our origin stories allow us to tackle these major problems. Toxicologists don't operate in silos. Team science is rampant. We need that stuff to make this work. Because of the diversity where we come from, because of our different career aspirations, because of the different ways in which we think and communicate, that's why we're so good at what we do. We do things like pick the brains of those around us. We stay out of our comfort zone. That was advice my dad gave to me when I came to him and said, I saw this movie, I want to go get a degree in biochemistry. That was fully uncharted waters for my family. He said, well, just pick the brains of those around you. You'll always be surrounded by experts. Do that thing. And that's the same message that he gave to first-generation college students up and down Colorado's Front Range, traveling around with a Jell-O brain in an igloo cooler with a biohazard sticker on it. And he brought toothpicks so that they would remember to pick the brains of those around us. Staying out of our comfort zone was advice that Dr. Butler gave me years ago in that armchair conversation that I had pretty much forgotten until a couple weeks ago when I was putting this thing together. It was tremendous, and it turns out that a lot of philosophers think that way. Here's a famous quote, I try to pick and choose my material based on what I can do to challenge myself and make myself feel uncomfortable. Always stay a student, never be a maestro. A lot of people think this way. I think we should think the same. We should be open to hear others' toxicology origin stories, because once you get here to the field of toxicology, you belong and you're impactful. Thank you very much.